Well, despite the technical difficulties, ladies and gentlemen, that we had on Sunday in Extreme Radio, I think this is how we're going to do interviews going forward, of just a Monday night segment with coaches we want to interview and publish it later on our social media and YouTube. We're fortunate enough, of course, for Coach Lebron Ferguson, the head coach for Providence Christian Academy, who is having their debut in varsity football for the school's first entire history. Coach, let me start out with, I know we had thank you for taking the time on Sunday, originally blocking your time to be able to come on the show for the interview, obviously with the technical difficulties, and then thank you for taking additional time out of your Monday night. I'll try not to keep you too long since the Titans game is right around the corner, but I appreciate you taking the time for coming on an interview.
Yeah, man, I appreciate the opportunity, and like I told you yesterday, we were, I guess, unofficially signing off. Anything I can do to help you guys promote 8-man football and kids that play that and our kids and what you guys are doing, I'm glad to do it, buddy.
Yeah, we appreciate it for sure. We appreciate it for sure. So we started out asking this question on the air yesterday, and unfortunately the audience didn't get picked up. So we'll pick up. We'll just start over so everybody can hear your answers in the rawest form. So let's start out with your background, because we read a little bit of your resume on there, and you've had a very extensive history with football, just 8-man football. This is your debut in that. So take us through your background and your coaching history, and what eventually led to you becoming the head coach of the PCA Lions.
All right, buddy. I think I started out with my graduation from the University of the South in 1991, headed to law school. Didn't want to do that, and through a series of fortunate events and some unforeseen things, not in a negative way, but just things that the only explanation I have is God orchestrated, landed some interviews with Coach Boots Donnelly at MTSU, and he hired me on as a graduate assistant coach, and I went back to get my certification in teaching. And I was there for 2 years working with them. And my first year, I was the graduate assistant for the offensive line coach. And then my second year there, I coached tight ends, and it was a great experience. And I wouldn't trade it for anything, because the work was hard, without a doubt. But going from a player right into coaching at the collegiate level, at that level, I mean, at that time, it's when MTSU was the way the divisions were was 1AA. Now they're called FCS. But 1AA in the Ohio Valley Conference, one of the top programs in 1AA football, and get a chance to work with Coach Donnelly and a program of that stature was just a blessing. And I owe every bit of that experience to God, because everything just fell in place and it just happened. I mean, I didn't go searching for it. I didn't even know where Murfreesboro, Tennessee was. At the time. I remember telling my mom, I was on the phone, and she goes, who was that guy? And I said, he was the head coach at Middle Tennessee State University. She said, where's that? And I said, Murfreesboro, Tennessee. She said, where's that? I said, it's 25 miles southeast of Nashville. She goes, I know where Nashville is. See, I'm from a small town in North Alabama, so, Murfreesboro wasn't something that was on my radar to come to. But anyway, was there for 2 years, left there in the summer of 92. The summer of 93, got married right after that to a beautiful lady from Warren County, and we left Middle Tennessee and went to Lafayette, Tennessee, to Macon County High School, and was there for 1 year. I think I was mentioned yesterday before the technical difficulty, Macon County, Lafayette was a wonderful town with wonderful people, but we were a long way from home in our minds. And, coach that's not home a lot, and young couple, and she wanted to get back home to family, and so I wanted to get closer to family. So we moved to Coffee County, and I was coaching there for 2 years. And my second year there, had the opportunity to be the head coach at as I think mentioned yesterday, the ripe age of 25, which was a great experience. And that was my first, cutting my teeth and being a head coach. And I remember calling my high school coach and asking him about the job. Should I take it? Should I not? And as we were talking, he finally said, Ferg, do you want to be a head coach? And I said, well, one day I do. And he said, hey, man, today's one day, and hung up. So that's the kind of leadership I've had in my life. I mean, like Coach Donnelly said, you want the job. When he offered me the job at MTSU, and I'm like, Coach, I thought we met in January. Not now. I mean, y'all start practice next week, and I'm I'm not even there. I don't even know what I'm doing. He said, "Do you want the dang job?" I said, "Yes, sir." And she said, "Have your butt in my office Monday morning at 8 o'clock," and hung up. My mom was like, "Where are you going?" I said, She goes, what are you doing? I said, "I'm going to Murfreesboro." She goes, "Doing what?" I said, "Coaching football." She goes, "How are you going to wash your clothes?" I'm like, "I don't know." "Where are you going to sleep?" "I don't know." "What are you going to eat?" "I don't know. But I'm going to Murfreesboro to coach football." So, anyway, getting back on track, the guy that I GA'd for, the offensive line coach at MTSU, his son, Rick Butler, got the head job at Oakland in the spring of 96, and he hires me as his offensive line coach. So I go to Oakland in 1996, and I'm there for 12 years, 8 as an assistant under him and Marty Uverard, who's now the head coach at Montgomery Bell Academy. Wonderful guy, great guy to work for. Unbelievable man of faith, just a good football coach and a good man. Anyway, and then he leaves in 2004, and I get promoted at Oakland. From 04 to 2007, I'm the head coach at Oakland. And then they make a change there, and I land at Franklin Road Academy in 2008, the spring of 2008, up until this past year. So for 24 of my 29 years, I've been at 2 schools. So I've been blessed with continuity and longevity, and to be, and I haven't really worked for that many head coaches. I've been around a lot of coaches as assistants coming in and out, but I haven't worked for a ton of head coaches. This past November, I get a phone call from the director of admissions, who I used to work with at Franklin Road Academy a few years ago, wanting to know if I'd be willing to talk to him and Coach Tara James, athletic director of Providence, about starting football. I said, "Sure, I'll be glad to talk to you." And long story short, it kind of started as me as a consultant, because I knew Mr. Majors, I knew Mr. Sheets, who's the head of the upper school and middle school there at PCA, and I worked with him at FRA, so I had relationships there. I went to church with a ton of people there, so I was like, "Sure, I'll be glad to talk to you." And we met a couple times from November to the first of the year, and I guess it might have been the third meeting. I don't remember exactly. But Coach James asked me at that point, she said, "Hey, listen," she goes, "if we do this, would you be interested?" I said, "I'd be interested enough to apply." And that's kind of not really the answer I really want to say was, yes, I would, because I've had my eye on PCA for a while. And, people, friends of mine, families that, kids that I coached at Oakland who are families at PCA now, and people I go to church and go, "When you coming to PCA to join us?" And I'm going, "When y'all start football, because I'm a football coach, and you don't have football, I'm not coming," So right. Anyway, they kind of kept stepping into it and walking into having football. And in January, she said, we're going full force with football. And I said, well, then I put in my application. And I put my application in, and a couple of interviews. And in March, it was literally about 5 days before the quarantine is when I accepted my contract. So it was, and then we hit quarantine. I'm like, oh my gosh, what in the world have I got myself into? Here we have nothing, and nobody knows, everything's shutting down. Are we even going to be able to order helmets and shoulder pads?
Right.
Then it got on into the end of May. Are we even going to be able to have football? So, that's just that's kind of how that's kind of my story, and in a nutshell, and kind of how I landed at PCA. And so I'm blessed and fortunate to be there. If you want to know the truth, I tell people, I was talking to Monty Hale right after the announcement came out that they'd hired me and I'd accepted the job. Was that and Monty Hale and I go back a ways to the MTSU days, and we knew each other. So I was telling Monty, I was like, dude, if I would have took this job right after Oakland, I would have failed. I wasn't prepared for this, but the last 12 years being at Franklin Road Academy was a great experience, working at a great independent school, a Christian school, and it kind of set my mind and heart to come in and do what PCA is wanting their football program to be.
People don't really talk about networking as much as they should in the business, because it doesn't matter. It really, especially with your story, it's just another valid proof of that. Networking gets you the job that you want to go. Networking and building relationships with people is how you get the job that you want to achieve. Because especially in your case, at 25, becoming a head coach, and then building the relationships at that point, because you mentioned you had your eye on Providence Christian for a while, and the moment they start football is the moment you're going to jump on board. So that ultimately, I think it's fair to say that ultimately the relationships you had with the people you knew at Providence, that got you the job. I mean, of course, you're qualified as a coach with your experience, but it's also in addition to the networking and the relationships that you had. So that's pretty incredible.
Oh, 100%. And that's what landed me in coaching, period, because I was kind of on the down low, or not down low. I was kind of swinging low, I guess. I didn't want to go to law school, and that was the path I was going, and I didn't know what else to do except if I don't get a coaching, and if I can't, I want to coach. I don't want to go to law school. And in the midst of me trying to identify and figure out, and I guess find myself, for lack of a better term, I wound up at a friend's house in Shelbyville having dinner with them one night, and the mom asked me, said, what's wrong with you? And I poured my guts out on the table, and she was like, well, my boss was teammates and roommates with Coach Donnelly at MTSU. You want me to talk to him and see if he can get you an interview? I'm like, and I'm just like, yeah, sure. Yeah, right. This guy's really going to talk to me. Like 3 days later, I've got an interview.
Oh,
and it's all because Clark Maples spoke on my behalf, who I've never met to this day. But he had Coach Donnelly's ear and trust, and he's like, you need to talk to this guy because of what my employee said. And I actually had 2 interviews with him, actually, and the third one over the phone, and he pulls the trigger and says, come on board, and here I am, taking 4 shirts I've got and 2 pair of pants and a pair of shoes, and I'm got groceries that won't perish because I have no idea where I'm staying, and I'm headed to Murfreesboro. I'm from a town that eats Vienna sausages and beanie weenies, and that's what I stocked up with. And here I came.
You were prepared for sure.
Oh, for sure. And my mom and still to this day we'll laugh about it. She's like, when you left, going, how is he going to wash his clothes?
That's the least of the worries.
I said, yeah. I said, I'd have found a sink with some, hand soap if I'd had to. I was going to coach football. And once God has been so good to me and blessed me so much in this business. I mean, kids I've coached, coaches I've been able to be around, teachers, administrators. I don't even know how to really put it into words. My experience in doing it, just from day to day. It's unbelievable that God has blessed me. I'm humbled. And but I'm also thankful and grateful because everybody don't get to go do what I get to do, right, and have the fun that I have. It's work. Don't get me wrong, man. It is really work, but it is like it. I have never not wanted to get up and go to work because of my. I've wanted to because I'm tired sometimes, but I've never not wanted to go because of my job.
Right. That's not many people get to say that in today's day and age. And in your case, it's been a very interesting build up to your coaching debut. It's with all the commotion that's happened in the offseason you mentioned. So take me inside what yourself, the athletic director over at Providence Christian, Tara James, the conversations you guys have had in the offseason. So you get the announcement comes out, you're head coach. 5 days later, quarantine. Pandemic declared, and essentially Providence Christian schools across the nation, they have to shut down. So take me through the off-season workouts, what you guys have done to get your football team prepared for the season in terms of off-season workouts and practices, and what you guys have done to do your part to make sure that football was able to come back in the fall.
Well, really, it was me. The biggest struggle I had was trying to communicate with the families and the team, the kids that had signed up for football, and trying to make sure they stayed out and they stayed interested in football because I didn't get a chance to see them in the hallways and for them to feel my energy, because my plan was to take off. I had several sick days built up at Franklin Road Academy, and my plan was to take a few days here and there and spend some time at PCA in the hallways, meeting kids, meeting families, and kind of doing what coaches do, loving on kids and, and trying to recruit the hall, so to speak. And that didn't happen, so it had to be done by phone.
Yep.
You know, we did a Zoom interview, and you know, and by that time, you know, everybody was tired of Zoom interviews.
Yeah.
I mean, I even cringed to even say the word Zoom, you know.
Yeah.
And because it's just so, to me, it was just so fake. You know, it wasn't authentic. So I told her, I said, I want to call. I want them to hear my voice on the other end of the phone. That's the best. I don't want them to see me on a screen, and that's artificial to me, you know. I said, at least a phone, they're touching the phone where, you know, they can hear my voice, they can hear my energy, they can ask any question they want. It's just me and them, you know. And so I went through she got me phone numbers, and I went through every kid, went through the sign-up sheet, and I called every kid, and even some that weren't even on the list that some other kids said, hey, Coach, you need to call these. Well, give me their number, I'll call them, you know. So basically, I began to recruit the PCA kids on the phone in the month of April. And when we got to the end of April, I told her, I said, you know, if we do get to play football, we're going to need equipment. So we need to, and I said, I haven't seen these kids. I can't call, you know, a sporting good rep and say, hey, I need 10 large helmets, you know, 2 small. I mean, I don't know. I haven't seen these kids.
Right.
I said, so will the administration allow me to bring a sales rep in and fit these kids? So long story short, I had to bring wipes and spray, and every time somebody tried something on, we had to wipe it and spray it, and I had to get the kids in and out in 2 minutes, and but it took us 2 days, but we were able to get every kid that wanted to at least get fitted. And I tried to tell them, hey, listen, we're fixing to order this. I mean, you got to be in now. We're not going to order you walk away. Are you in? Yes, sir, I'm in. Okay, let's go. So anyway, we ended up, I think, with that fitting, I think we had 18 kids. And then we got that stuff ordered, and Coach James and I sat down and ordered other equipment we needed for practice. And, I mean, we had to order varsity footballs. They didn't even have a varsity football on campus. But then again, why would they, right?
Well, I mean, what reason?
Yeah, they didn't have a reason to. So we had to, I mean, we ordered, you know, everything. And some of it was just, we started out with the bare essentials, you know, and then as we began to see and get quotes and prices and things like that, we added up and got some more. We got a couple bells and whistles, but not many. You know, and I told us, I don't want bells and whistles right now. I just want these kids to have something good. I want them to have good equipment, good helmet, good shoulder pads.
Right.
Quality practice jersey. You know, we could go really cheap, but, you know, they don't deserve cheap. You know, they deserve, you know, maybe not the Cadillac, but they sure enough deserve a, you know, Lincoln.
Right.
You know. Sure. So anyway, we put all that together, and just within the timing of it, the blessing is that we were able to get everything we ordered on time. Like nothing was delayed. I guess we actually kind of got ahead of some, because I've got some other buddies that was like, man, who'd you get your helmets through? And I'm like, you got your helmet? Yeah, we got our helmets. Who'd you get them through, man? They're telling me that it's going to be 6 weeks before I can get my helmets. You know, I'm like, well, you should have ordered them sooner.
Right.
You know, but anyway, so I'm hoping that it helped the guy that helped us out. I'm hoping it helped him out, because I referred a few coaches to him. But anyway, you know, then we get through April and May, and we decide, okay, June 1st, let's start. You know, gyms are opening up. I think we're in like phase 2 of the reopening stuff, and as far as the Middle Tennessee goes. And so we had to come up with a plan to keep kids spaced out and at least try to get some kind of workout. And I told them, I don't care. As a new coach, I don't care what we do as long as we're doing something and I can be around these kids. You know, so we really went 4 days a week, starting on June 1st till the dead period, just lifting and doing speed and agility and a little bit of conditioning, not a ton. And I just wanted to see the kids work out.
Yep.
You know, and then we went into the dead period, and then when we come off the dead period on July 6th, we practiced 3 days a week, and we were going to do that for 3 weeks, Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday. And then it turned into, well, you can't have any contact. Well, now nobody can do anything until the end of August. So basically the July plan going 3 days a week for 3 weeks drifted on into August.
Mm-hmm.
You know, which technically I guess you could say without the hitting part and the contact part, we used July as spring practice.
Yep.
You know, just agility stuff and different, I mean, like blocking alignment, learning how to step and at least get their body in position to fit a block on air. You know, our skill guys running routes and learning our passing tree and our concepts. And, you know, we had our entire passing game, well, not our entire, but we had the majority of our passing game in, you know, by the third week of July, because that's all they could do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and in doing all that, we were running and getting in, you know, we were kind of practicing ourselves into shape, so to speak. So then, you know, August came in, and really July was an extension of August. We stayed on the 3 days a week until the governor lifted the ban and we could start contact. Well, that was about the time the MTAC decided to redo the schedule, because we really felt like that he wasn't going to lift it. You know, we thought, you know, we got at least let's have a start date. Let's be the first ones to say, hey, we're starting here and let's roll.
Yep.
So we did that, and I'd be darned if the next day he didn't lift the ban. You know, but I told our administration and Tara and our team, I said, you know, you're gonna hear about other schools starting and adding games, but we're not going to, because we need these next 3 weeks to learn to hit.
Yep.
So, you know, others, you know, I think, you know, Christian Community added some games. People added games in September, and instead of starting September 18th, they started September 11th, even some September 4th. And several teams did that in MTAC. And I was like, no, we're gonna stay on our September 18 day, and we're gonna practice, you know, because we still got to learn to practicing, so to speak, you know. And so we've done that, and you know, last week we had a scrimmage with and it, you know, went pretty well, and our kids are, you know, trying really hard to do what we're asking them to do. And then, you know, now we're in the game week, and all that time it kind of slowed it down for us in a way that we could learn to do some things and kind of do it the right way and not be under the pressure of a game week, so to speak, you know, because and I told Coach James, I said, you know, you guys hired me to coach football, but you also hired me to protect these kids.
Yep.
You know, we're not, since we couldn't hit until the middle of August, we're not ready to play a game in 2 weeks. We're really not. You know, I said, I don't feel good about playing a game in 2 weeks. You know, so that's kind of what we did and how we did it. And I'll tell you Friday night if it worked or not.
We'll be happy to be there and figure it out for sure. But I want to go back to your point about the Zoom meetings, and that's what a lot of schools started to do. Was, I know my own Water Franklin Christian, not necessarily just for football, but they did Zoom workouts where everybody was on camera and they did that kind of stuff. But I'm in the same boat with you and a lot of other people because people know I go to MTSU, and I'm in the same boat with a lot of other of my students in journalism and strategic media. I mean, it seems very trivial as one of these, you know, United States citizens problem, because we have it a lot better than most people in the world. But it's one of those things to complain about Zoom, of that, you know, I'm in the same boat with you. I'm irritated with Zoom. It's just there's something about that human connection that comes from not just phone calls, but meet with coaches. And I really love your point of where you mentioned that I don't care what it is we have to do in June or July that's within the rules. I just need the kids to do something. I want to see these kids practice in person. I want to form that relationship, because especially to your point of, you're not just hired as a football coach, you're hired to protect these kids. And and that's the big question of, how do the kids feel protected if you don't form a relationship with them already to clarify with them that I am your protector. The buck stops with me, and you know, obviously to an extent it stops as well with Coach Tara James, because she's the athletic director. But if you don't form that relationship with the kids, and COVID obviously made it a lot more difficult, but if you don't form that relationship with the kids, then it's difficult to form that trust.
100%, and that's one of the things I'm very fortunate, is that Coach James has, you know, trusted me from the get-go. You know, and there's been a few times she would say, you know, well, you know, what about this? And I go, well, we're going to do this. She goes, well, all right, I trust you. you know, and and that's really cool because she didn't really know me, you know, but I mean, you have to start out like that. There was a time in my life where you had to earn my trust, but I've learned that's too hard to live, you know,
Right.
and I'm not saying I'm going to just sling my trust around to everybody, but for the most part, I'm going to trust you till you give me a reason not to.
Yeah, same here.
You know, so, you know, and that's one of the things I told the kids. One of the things I did leave out is at the end of May, they allowed me to bring them in and have one-on-one meetings with them. And I tried to get all those done within 30 minutes a kid. And so that's how, you know, I was able to put a calendar in their hand and for them to understand our mission and what we're trying to do and how we're going to do it. And I invited if the parents wanted to come into that, they could. They didn't have to. I really wanted to be, I mean, I didn't say wanted to be men to players only, but I wanted the player to hear my voice for sure and them to understand who I was and what I was about, you know. And I want to win as much as anybody, and I'm very highly competitive. But I'm not going to do it at the expense of your well-being.
Right.
I'm not doing that. You know, nobody should do that. I mean, professional sports, you know, those guys get paid a lot of money because there's a lot of risk involved in their job. I get it. But still, they're men, and they deserve to be treated like people, not, you know, products.
Yeah.
You know, to a degree. I mean, and I don't need to get started on all that because that's going to take us into a whole nother arena, my friend.
I mean that'd be a good conversation for sure. But yeah, that's your graduate student coming out and your sports psychology side coming out on the part of meeting with the kids and, you know, being competitive. And as you got to know those kids in the off season, every coach, you know, every team has to have team captains. Everyone has to have the ones that kind of take the reins, whether it's at senior leadership or junior leadership or those who are, you know, upperclassmen. There are people who not only put in the work in practice, but they go above and beyond. So from the meetings you've had and from the practices that you guys have been able to have in the off season, which players stand out to you that we should be looking for on Friday?
Glad you asked, honestly, because it gives me. I love talking about our kids and kids that I coach. Carson Posh for sure. I mean, Carson was one that wasn't even on the sign-up sheet, but I had known him for a little while through church and had served in some areas in church with his mom and his dad, and knew he was an outstanding young man and knew he was the kind of character that we needed on our football team and that we wanted, because I didn't know any other kids. He was the only kid that I literally knew on the roster. There's a couple other kids that came out. Actually, he wasn't on the sign-up sheet because he actually contacted me about something else since I had been hired there, and that contact led to me talking to him about football. Andy Sheets, his son Josh Sheets, was another one that wasn't even interested, but because I knew him when he was in third grade at Franklin Road Academy, I'm like, dude, why don't you play football with us? Why don't you just come out and try it? And both those young men are loving it. Carson is doing an unbelievable job. For Josh is one of the sleeping giants, so to speak. I mean, and from a leadership standpoint, his voice is beginning to become prominent with our team and our guys. And the way he holds other guys accountable in such a positive way. You know, where I've been in other programs where seniors try to lead, and the way they do it, it's like nobody's going to listen to you speaking that way, you know. Mm-hmm. But he does it in such a positive way and in such a confident way, and I'm like, wow, man, I didn't know you had this in you. So those are the first two that kind of jump out at me, is Carson and Josh, and we got a junior that's doing a really good job in Eli Wilson. It's almost like the maturity and the way he speaks. It's almost like he's a senior, but he's a junior.
Wow.
You know, which is a great thing, and they listen to him when he speaks. I mean, one of the things I asked is while we were waiting to start practice one day, and I don't even remember what some of the other guys were doing. We were waiting on, but I was asking the guys that were outside with me. I was like, you know, what do you like best about PCA? And the general consensus is the community and the trust and the love that they feel with each other there. And it is evident on this football team. Like, they absolutely, authentically, and genuinely care about each other. It doesn't matter who it is, whether you're, a really good player or even if you're not a really good player. I mean, they see everybody as equals, But and part of that could be the way I staged it, because I told them, I said, we're not, I don't look at seniors and juniors and sophomores and freshmen when I look at a locker room. I look at PCA football players. So I don't want to hear, you have no privilege because you're a senior on this football team. I don't believe in positional leadership. I don't believe in that, because that's how you get bad leaders thinking they're good leaders, is because now they're seniors, they're leaders. No, there's actually freshmen that are better leaders than you, my friend.
Right.
And I said, I don't really look at it that way. So I said, and I told our seniors this, I said, I don't want to walk in that locker room and see the seniors here, the juniors here, and the sophomores here. I said, we're going to set up a locker room, and wherever you land, you land. And I said, it's y'all's job to make sure that everybody under you feels welcome in that locker room. And I asked them this. I said, have you ever felt unwelcome in a locker room? And every one of them had.
Cool.
And I said, so think about how that feels, and know that there's a freshman that's going to walk in here who, and I pointed a couple of them, like you two, who've never played football before, and they're going to be nervous because they're in here with older kids, and they're in here with guys of y'all's stature and the way, and your presence in the halls of our school as seniors, and they're going to be intimidated just being in here. And how long are you going to allow that to last? And I'm telling you, man, it's unbelievable. Like, they bought into that right out of the gate.
This is one of the many reasons I'm excited to go towards a graduate degree, man. It's not sports psychology, but I've taken my minor is in athletic coaching, and I've taken over the summer. I took a course on the psychology of coaching and officiating. And you're the principles you're talking about are just going ding 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 in my head, because these concepts are just very. They're just very familiar to me, and I see these as, why don't more coaches do this kind of stuff? But I want to talk about the comment about the general consensus was community, because that's part of that's one of the benefits of private schools in general. But I mean, there's several certainly that stand out as more of a camaraderie, where everybody's able to come together and be open, and they feel like more of a family. And with that being said, families and communities, they're more than likely to get excited about what somebody else is doing, the accomplishments they're about to have. And of course, Providence Christian is going to have their a big accomplishment in their first varsity football game, and their first one is going to be at home this Friday. And now, from when we're recording this on Monday evening, it's 4 days from now. So tell me about how the Providence community and the families and students, what is it looking like inside Providence Christian right now in terms of the excitement and the just the overall encouragement that people are given towards the historical moment?
Well, it's definitely exciting. Like, it started out last week going, Coach, we got our game this week. Coach, are we playing this week? And I was like, no, we got a scrimmage this week. We play next week. And I mean, we're in class today, and one young lady, she's like, Coach, I told my uncle about the game Friday night, and we're all coming. I mean, and it's just, it is exciting, and it's something they've wanted. I haven't shared this with a ton of people, so I hope, and if I do step out of line with PCA, they forgive me. I will say it anyway. I was walking down the hall, I don't know, a couple of weeks into school, and there were some kids talking, and I heard this, we have football now. It feels like a real school. And part of me is like, well, that doesn't necessarily make you a real school. I mean, that's kind of almost an idealistic statement about football, But to a degree, I was like, yes, okay, good. That's the people are feeling that way, and like I said, it's no different a school because of football, but then again, it is because there is an energy, and that's one of the reasons that when we did our scheduling back in March, which was a very interesting piece for me too, you have a scheduled meeting on Saturday, and then come Wednesday, we may not be playing football. But anyway, and meeting you guys. Anyway, it's coming, looking at all that and going, wow, man, this is real. We have a schedule now. And then you all of a sudden these boxes start coming in with helmets and football, and this is real. And then me, we come back with that schedule, we get back to the schedule, and Coach James saying, well, are we playing on Saturdays? I'm like, no, ma'am. I told them we're going to try to get lights and play on Friday night. She's like, you told them what? I said, but I told them we're going to try to get lights because we are. I said, Friday night lights. I said, you got football. High school football is on Friday night. It's not on Saturday morning.
Mm-hmm.
I said, let's do this. And we've been blessed. I mean, I hope it works out good. We've got to do some tweaking, but we had lights at the scrimmage the other night, and
wow.
I mean, there was it was a great environment right there, and it was just a scrimmage. We didn't even really promote it.
Mm-hmm.
The families that were coming out, and several people that I saw afterwards, like, Coach, we had a great time last night. It was so good, so fun to see those guys out there playing and going at it. And I mean, it's the energy's there, the support seems to be there, and just God's orchestrating things, and they're just kind of falling in place. I mean, I hope it continues through Friday night and the rest of the season. But right now, I mean, I tell people I'm having the time of my life coaching this bunch of kids and being on that campus and being a part of PCA. It is literally the time of my life.
Yeah, it's certainly a great feeling to still be able to start something that's bigger than yourself, especially when it comes to an opportunity. And in terms of the comment about some of the students saying that we're a real school now because of football, I agree with you in that it doesn't necessarily make you a real school whether you have a football program. I mean, you look at the collegiate level, Lipscomb University doesn't have a football program, and does that make them less of a university than another? No. But
right.
I mean, that's at the collegiate level. But I think Providence Christian has historically been a basketball heavy school. They've produced many fantastic basketball players that have gone on to Division II, Division I, to collegiate athletics. But it's just another opportunity for the kids that come through Providence, in addition to the community that they offer, and the difference in education and the care that the teachers have. It's just another opportunity to say, hey, you can also play football with those who already care for you.
100%. That's one of the things that when I interview with Dr. Mott, he's like, why are you here? Not in a not like we're PCA. Why are you? We don't. We're just trying to start football. Why are you here? He's like, why are you here? And I told him, I said, honestly, you're wanting to start this, and your young men in this school need this, and I have a skill set and giftings and talent that God has blessed me with that I can come in and give the young men here in this school what you're asking for and what they need. That's why I'm here.
Great answer to give, especially in an interview. I think for those who need interview tips, just make sure you're listening to those, and maybe set up a meeting with Coach Ferguson one of these days.
I don't know. I will say this: I've been blessed in some. I won't tell you which job it was, but one job I was hired by the school board before I ever turned my application in. Didn't even have an interview. I went for my interview and I was already hired.
Relationships, man. It's when you build relationships, they don't even need to see what's on your resume.
Well, it was the weird part about it. I didn't know the head coach and he didn't know me. We just talked on the phone one time. That's pretty. That's cool. A good. We can talk about that later, but that's a really good story, by the way.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
That's why I say, when I tell you I've been blessed in this profession, I've literally been blessed.
That's incredible. So back on the subject of football, as you said, you're competitive. You want to win, and you've got a tough opponent, because I'm sure you watched our broadcast against South Haven last week, and down 18-0 at the half against the South Haven Christian School Patriots, who were predicted to be the favorites in the North Division and predicted to be undefeated on the season. and they 18-0 at the half, and then in the last quarter of the game, 23-18, Franklin Christian comes back to win it at home. So and of course this game now this doesn't impact seeding because we'll get into that. But in terms of the first game for Providence and against a tough opponent like FCA, what are your thoughts, and have you told the guys about anything to expect on Friday night?
I just told them to expect to face a team that's not going to quit. I mean, it's pretty obvious that they didn't quit. And you're right, I did. I mean, I came in. For some reason, I had in my mind that Ezell was the game of the week, Ezell and Franklin Classical. So I come home Friday night, and I had actually thought about driving up there and watching the game in person, but we practiced, and by the time I got finished at school, it was close to 6:30. I'm like, I don't have time to get there, and be productive. So I just came home and tuned you guys in, pulled it up on my phone, was able to project it on my TV, and next thing I'm like, crap, that's FCA. Oh my gosh. So, I watched the game, and the tenacity, and Coach Johnson is a friend of mine. We've been friends for a while, and that's one of the things when the game was over, I texted him and I said, hey man, I know you're proud of your kids because of the tenacity and the don't quit attitude. I mean, daggum, man, you got to be pleased with that. And so I told our guys, and they knew about it too. I said, I'm gonna tell you what you're going to face. And one of those leaders I mentioned earlier said, a team that's not going to quit. I said, 100%. I said, but I know something too. I said, I'm looking at a team right now that I haven't seen quit in either.
Oh yeah.
So they're sound. You can tell they're well coached. Their stances are good. Their leverage is good. Their pad level is good. And I told them, I said, they're going to be detailed oriented because I said, that's the guy leading the charge over there is that way. And I said, you're going to face a really good football team that's got some really good players. And I said, but you know what? We got some really good players too. I said, the only difference is they've played a little bit more football than you, but you know what? You've played football too now. So, that's, I was really impressed with what I saw on the screen the other night. And even in the film that the scrimmage film that Coach Johnson sent, because we didn't have a game film to swap, so we swapped scrimmage for scrimmage.
Right.
And, even then, they're sound in their schematics. They're solid in what they're trying to do. And so, it's going to be fun, and it's going to be work. I tell people that, I don't know where people get you play of the game. I said, no, you work. I said, people that play have fun. We work on Friday night, and after we work, we play.
Absolutely.
A football game is work. So
football we game is work, and scrimmage and practices are just play.
We have a work mentality when we practice. We have a work mentality when we practice. We shouldn't change our energy from practice to game and game to practice. It should all be the same energy.
Right. Absolutely.
And I saw a team the other night to play with a lot of energy, man, in FCA. But I know, a Tim Johnson coach team is going to be a good team. It's going to be a hard-nosed team. It's going to be a hard-playing team, and they're going to be a hard-to-beat team.
Absolutely. So we as the main media outlet that covers 8-man football, we make sure that we give people the opportunity to clarify things that we've heard, especially with things of significance. So we were told by the NTAC executive members, now TSIA, we were told that your school, Providence Christian, is not eligible for the postseason this year, and they told us it was a matter of ineligible players, and they encouraged us to reach out to you and the Providence team about the situation if they wanted to give a statement on it. So of course you have every right to refuse the question if you want or not, because one of the things is that even if you're not playoff eligible, it doesn't matter to you guys because your guys haven't quit and they're going to continue to play football to the best of their ability. But if you'd like to, since you have the outlet, well, one of the other things I heard that we especially want to make sure is clear and praise you for is that we were told that it was either yourself or Coach James. You guys came forward and mentioned that you had a player that was ineligible, and were proactive about that. And we praise you for that. So if you'd like to go ahead and talk about what it is that makes you guys postseason ineligible, and of course, even though you aren't going to be playoff eligible, why you're going to continue staying the course to win, try and go undefeated this season.
Well, I don't care to tell you one bit. I have nothing to hide. Transparency is the name of the game, and for us, yeah, we were proactive with it. I found out that one of the guys on our roster, and find out. I mean, Coach James told me that by TSSAA, he was ineligible because of the 8-semester rule.
Okay.
Are you familiar with that rule?
Yeah, it's 8 semesters eligible total to play.
Yeah, total to play. So he had repeated a grade and was in his 9th semester. And I was like, well, and I thought about it, and she said, well, I just want you to think about it. And I said, well, I did. I honestly came home and I put mental energy to it. And I was like, if we do this, I mean, if they allow us to play him, we're not going to be. They're going to tell us we can't make the playoffs. Okay, so what do we do about the seniors that are coming out here and trying to build for that and get it going? And finally, I thought, you know what, this young man was the 8th or 9th young man that showed up for the shoulder pad and helmet fitting. Okay. Which means of the 2 days we had 18 kids. We're going to need this kid.
Yep.
With the numbers being what they are, this, even if he doesn't start, we're going to need him for depth. We're going to need, and he's a senior. Let me back up. We're going to need this kid. And then I got to think, he's a senior.
Yep.
He cannot play any other sport at PCA.
Unfortunately not.
And he wants to play football. He wants to, because every other sport is TSSAA he's ineligible for.
Yep.
And he wants to play football. And I began to ponder all that, and I thought, you know what? If we're going to build football at PCA right now, in this year, in this season that we're in, and COVID and all the negativity and all the junk that's going on with that, for lack of a better term, and we can talk about that later too if you want to, is, people need something.
Yep.
And I thought, he won't ever get a chance to do this again. So when I met with him one-on-one, I told him, I said, he had an idea because I had mentioned it to him for the shoulder pad and helmet fitting. Well, then I told him, I said, I want you to play. You showed up to this meeting today. I want you to play. I want you to be a part of this. You walk the halls of this school. You're a senior. You're just as important as anybody else in this school right now. He goes, well, what about the playoffs? I said, I don't care. We're trying to build football at PCA with young men at PCA, and you're here. So when he said, I'm on board, I want to do this, thank you so much. And when I told him that, he teared up. And then that's when I made the call to MTAC. And I told him, I said, now, can we do this? And got a call back and said, yeah, he can play, but you forfeit the playoffs. And I said, that's fine, we'll forfeit the playoffs. Our players didn't even know that. So we get on through June, and when we come back after the dead period, before we at very first practice, I told the team. And they didn't flinch. One of them even said, Coach, we wouldn't even think of doing it without him.
Wow.
That's when I knew I had a special bunch of boys.
Oh, yeah. That's
I thought if we don't win a ball game, this is going to be special. But because of that attitude, we're going to win some ball games.
Wow.
That's just, and they haven't slowed down. They haven't looked back, and they love him, and he loves them back, and it's special.
You talk about camaraderie and community among the halls. I mean, that translates over to the field. That is incredible. That the team doesn't care about hoisting a trophy they don't care about hoisting a trophy if it means that they can't hoist it with one of their leaders. That's pretty incredible. Now the good news is if you guys do well enough during the regular season, I believe you could probably go down to Florida NHSA. I believe you could. I don't quote me on that. That'd be a question for Hank St. Dennis and the coordinator down there. Or you could go to NACA at Fort Bluff, but you might be able to go to those places depending on what their rule sets are. But although you may not be able to go for a TSIA championship, there's the possibility of going out to Fort Bluff for NACA or Panama City Beach for the NHSA.
Well, that's the first I've heard of that, so I don't know what that would look like. No, I didn't even know that. So that's part of the learning curve I have with 8-man football.
Yeah, if you listen to our show every Sunday at 4 p.m., we talk about that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's again, don't quote me on it. That'd be a question for Hank St. Dennis or Dave Secura, the coordinators at NHSA and NACA. But I believe they might let you participate in the tournaments. I don't know what their requirements are, but I mean, maybe they both hear this interview and they decide the story's powerful enough to let them in. Possibly.
I don't know. Well, I'll wait for the phone call. Because right now I don't know that I'd have time to call, nor would I know what to say.
Right, fair enough.
But they'd have to wait and let the season pan out anyway. So I guess I will just sit here and wait for the phone call.
Yeah. We'll make sure they get your number somehow. You'll get that phone call, I'm sure. But Coach, again, thank you for taking the time on a Monday night. I'm sure that's a lot of great wisdom and insight into not just yourself as a coach, but your team and its program and the mentality. And again, we're really looking forward to being a part of that history for Providence Christian and broadcasting your first varsity high school football game on Friday night against Franklin Christian under the lights too, with the portable lights and everything. It's going to be special, and we're looking forward to seeing the camaraderie show out in full form and that hard work ethic from both teams on Friday.
Well, thank you very much. Thanks for what you guys do for 8-man football and for the kids that that participate in it. And I mean, it's I had no idea when I went to that scheduling meeting on March the 7th that any of this existed. And you hit me in the hallway there at Lancaster Christian. I'm like, what? Y'all got what? I had no idea. And just to see it develop and learn about 8-man extreme and watching things this spring, stuff you guys have posted from the past of different games and seasons. And part of it has been it's an opportunity for me just to start wrapping my mind around 8-man football and the concept of it, because it's different and it's not.
It is.
It's different and it's not. But I mean, the cool thing is that kids that are going to these schools that wouldn't get a chance to play football are playing football, and they're doing it in a way that's getting notoriety, it's getting promoted, and the work that they're doing is getting seen, and the work that these coaches are doing in the lives of these kids is getting recognized. So thank you so much for doing that.
Of course, that's what it's always about, is about giving these players exposure, even though it's different and it's not. It's always about giving players the exposure they deserve. But Coach, again, thank you for your time, and got you time an hour early before the Titans game starts, so you got plenty of time to de-stress and relax.
Hey, dude, at my age, I don't know that I can make it another hour.
I don't blame you one bit. I got a class in Murfreesboro at 9:40 in the morning, but I'm going to be staying up for it. So, but thanks again, Coach. Appreciate it.
Hey, Spencer, thank you, man. Thanks for what y'all do, man.
Yep, thank you. Thank you,
yes,
sir.